This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment Blog, coming to another edition of the 2020 MLB Hotstove. Now we're in the year 2021, officially one full week into it. Biggest news has been the Francisco Lindor trade. That's what I'm going to get to first. So Francisco Lindor has been rumored to be on the trade block for a couple of years because the Indians have kept trading away or releasing veteran players. And this past year they traded Mike Clevinger and some other players. And this year they said, you know what? We're also going to trade other people on the team as well. So this time they traded Lindor and Carlos Carrasco, the cancer survivor, the all-star starting pitcher who's been a reliever for them as well. And the Mets now get both Lindor and Carlos Carrasco. Hopefully the Mets can sign him to an extension because I know that Ahmed Rosario 1 year looks good offensively, but then looks bad defensively, and then it's the reverse. He plays really good defense, but then he doesn't know how to hit. And then Andres Jimenez, people think he can even be better than Ahmed Rosario, both offensively and defensively. And then the Mets give up Josh Wolf, a minor league pitcher, and Isaiah Green, minor league outfielder, all for Lindor as a rental. So I really hope the Mets do re-sign him because Carrasco's still under contract for another season after this. And imagine if when Syndergaard comes back, you got DeGrom, Syndergaard, Carrasco, Stroman, and Matz. When they're all healthy, that's a really good rotation and a lineup that has Michael Conforto and Dominic Smith returning until they get a DH. And you get Jeff McNeil now going to play second full-time with Cano suspended for PD. J.D. Davis is going to play a full season. And then you have Lindor and Pete Alonso. And they just signed James McCann, who surprisingly showed people the past 2 years that he can hit consistently. Oh, that's a great lineup. And imagine if they have a DH. Then they could always, put Dominic Smith at DH and then play somebody else in left field they sign a free agent outfielder. That would be a really good team. So that's going to be a good move. You'll see if Lindor gets an extension. The Marlins have signed Ross Deltweiler to Major League deal. He pitched pretty well as a reliever for the White Sox. So again, the Marlins will flip him if they're not a playoff team. And they signed Stanley Leon to a minor league deal because at some point they're going to need a backup catcher. Cubs have signed Adam Morgan to a minor league deal, former Phillies reliever. Maybe could help out the bullpen. And they did cut Colin Ray, so his tenure with the Cubs barely been used. The Giants signed Kirk Casale because, Buster Posey opted out of the season, and they're like, do we go with our prospect, Joey Bart, or do we go with, 2 or 3 career backups? So you might as well go with Casale, who's at least been a major leaguer, as a backup. Dodgers brought back Blake Trinan. That helps their bullpen out. They made some moves the past years to fix their bullpen. That's a good one. The Red Sox signed Daniel Gossett to a minor league deal. The way the Red Sox rotation was ravaged by injuries last year and COVID-19, any young pitcher with a live arm might as well use them even if they haven't been good recently. Rangers signed Drew Anderson to a minor league deal again, flipping if he plays well. Yankees picked up Greg Allen after the Padres DFA'd him. The Yankees never get healthy outfielders in both Stanton and Judge, and Aaron Hicks, so we might as well keep an extra outfielder around. The Pirates signed Chase DeYoung, so again, bullpen help could be flipped. Brewers signed Pablo Reyes, who's a super utility guy who's played center field and shortstop, 2 of the more important positions. So again, if you don't have a center fielder like the Milwaukee Brewers didn't really have last year, Pablo Reyes can play anywhere in a pinch. The Twins signed JT Riddle, minor league deal. Josh Donaldson, Miguel Sano, Polanco, those guys don't always stay healthy. And they did lose Martin Gonzalez for agency. The Riddle can be a good, nice utility player for them. Astros signed Ryan Stanek, and they definitely need bullpen help with Ozuna being hurt, and he's a free agent, so they need to fix that bullpen because they've in recent years lost guys like Will Harris to free agency. So Stanek is a really good pitcher for a low price. And the Tigers signed Robbie Grossman to a 2-year deal, and I don't get this. Jacoby Jones, I know he can't stay healthy, but you got a bunch of young players in your outfield, and I'm just like, why aren't you going to play those young guys first? Including Mike Cameron's son, the Demerit. There's all these young guys in their team, and you're like, why waste time with him, especially when Miguel Cabrera's going to DH? So Robbie Grossman's not going to DH, so why would you give him a 2-year deal? 1-year deal, maybe. I didn't know he was good enough to get a major league deal, but yeah, the Tigers aren't going anywhere. You play all the young players on your 4-man roster to see what you have. Especially play Jacoby Jones as much as possible, because if he's healthy enough and he can hit like he used to, that's a trade piece right there, but you're going to take away time with Robbie Grossman playing out there. And then the Mariners signed Ronald Ellis and Paul Sewald to minor league deals. Ronald Ellis was on their team before, so he's never been healthy as a starter or relievers. Paul Sewald was okay with the Mets, just the Mariners are not going anywhere, so they're taking chances. The Yankees signed Yuli Shakin because Tanaka, J. Happ, they're free agents on the market, so when you don't have J. Happ, you don't have James Paxton or Tanaka, most of your rotation has gone into free agency. Yuli Shakin is not the same pitcher he used to be, but the Yankees just need somebody to pitch innings in the 5th spot. he can do that. The Mets signed Brandon Drury, so he's perfect in the National League because he can come in and play second base one day, third base. He can play left field or right field or first base. I would never want to see him at shortstop again like the Blue Jays did recently. And it's always about his bat. So the Mets could use him as a pinch hitter off the bat if J.D. Davis is playing every single day. And another interesting thing that happened is that Phil Hughes, former Yankees pitcher, when he came up with Jabba Chamberlain and Ian Kennedy, they're like, who's going to be the better one? Jabba Chamberlain was more of a reliever. Ian Kennedy recently became a reliever because the Royals, I don't know what they're doing. And he's, been a reliever recently. Phil Hughes announced his retirement. The Yankees had him. He was on the Twins, and the Padres just flat out released him. And it's been 2 to 3 full seasons. So I'm wondering, maybe because 2020 was a short season, and he must have been rehabbing and, wasn't able to pitch in 2019, that he may try to come back this year. Because he's not that old. He's in his mid to late 30s. And he's not that old of a pitcher that if, Jabba Chamberlain and Ian Kennedy become relievers, he could become a reliever. He announced his retirement, so happy trails to him. So that's a positive thing. He hung up his cleats, and you got to say I was an all-star and I won a World Series. So that's always good to have on your mantle. But in sad news, just over the line, is Tommy Lasorda, Hall of Fame manager of the Dodgers, who famously was a bench coach for the other Hall of Fame manager, Walt Alston, who managed the Dodgers to World Series. He passed away today at 93. He had been battling through medical problems over the last 5 or 6 months. They were like bad things, positive things. And, so he basically was hospitalized for heart problems in November in intensive care. And then, he was taken out of intensive care and it continued to improve. And then he was released from the hospital in the beginning of January. But then he suffered a cardiac arrest 2 days later and went back to the hospital. And he was pronounced dead. So it's really sad. He was going back and forth with what, if he was going to live it or not. He won a gold medal with the United States. As I said, he won the World Series twice in the 80s and was Manager of the Year twice in the 80s. The Dodgers retired his number. He's just under 1,600 wins, 1,500, pretty impressive, over 500 win percentage. And people don't remember this. He was a major league pitcher first for those Dodgers and 1 year for the Kansas City Eights. He, as I said, is in the Hall of Fame, and he's also famous for being Italian and having a relationship with Mike Piazza's father from back in the day. And the two of them, were friends. So he said back in the day when the Major League Baseball draft had like 30, 40 rounds, they said, you know what? Why don't we draft your son as one of the things as a favor? And of course, Mike Piazza go down and become a Hall of Fame catcher, the greatest offensive catcher of all time, power hitter, all the things based on a favor. So that's also his legend. He said to the Dodgers to draft Mike Piazza besides from winning all those things. So it's a very sad day. The time sort of passed away. Thanks for listening to another edition of MLB 2020 Hot Stove edition for this offseason, week number 7. For On the Radar and Tablog, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.